Hello everyone and welcome back to another ChessTube episode. In today's video we are continuing with the series where I'm showing you the interesting games that I play while I am cycling at the gym. So this game was played on chess.com against an opponent rated 2638, and my rating at that time was 2611, as you can see. So it's a 3 minutes game, and we are going to see a pretty interesting struggle in the Caro-Kann defense. So the game started with e4. I replied with the Caro-Kann. Now we have one of the main lines with knight to c3. And here, I mean, there are some side lines that you can try as well, but d takes e4 is the main move. Knight takes e4. And in this position, there are many ways to play this. Knight d7 is Karpov's favorite. Bishop f5 is by far the main line. But nowadays, this move, knight to f6, has become quite trendy and pretty fashionable. So I would knight f6. We have knight takes on f6. And you can take with the g-pawn as well, but it's a little bit riskier. So I decided to just take with the e-pawn and keep a safe structure on the king side. Knight to f3. And it's pretty important to mention that already knight f3 is considered to not be the most ambitious move of the position. c3 is something pretty interesting, trying to stay flexible with the idea that after bishop d6, white will try to play with bishop d3, and after castle, white can try to put pressure on the h7 pawn with the idea to play knight e2, bishop e3, and castle long side. So c3, it's a pretty interesting and tricky continuation that we are likely to see in the upcoming videos on the channel. So yeah, let me know in the comment section if you are interested and hyped to see that line. But we have what a lot of people would play if they are not too familiar with this position, which is knight f3, simply developing the knight and preparing to castle short soon. So I developed with bishop to d6. This is the best place for the bishop because it's watching the king side, and also on e7 it would have been slightly more passive than here. So I have bishop to e2. White has many ways to develop the bishop. He can go bishop d3, he can play bishop c4 as well. Just as a rule of thumb, whenever white goes with a bishop like that, keep in mind that you can go for the pin, because it's really annoying when you go for the spin for white when he has the bishop on like d3. So this would be something to do against that. But we have bishop e2, and here the second tip of the video: when they play with bishop e2, don't go bishop g4, because it's not really going to be that effective, because you're not pinning the knight, and bishop g4 would not be great if you just give him the bishop pair like that. You're not really going to win anything in exchange for that. So after bishop e2, castle. Anyways, in the game I couldn't go for bishop g4, but even if he just plays castle short, I would consider to develop my bishop on e6 at some point, or maybe even on f5. All the squares are better than the g4 when the bishop is on e2. So in the game anyways, we have h3, and I went for rook 8, which is the most natural move in the position, occupying the open file with the rook. We have castle short, and now I could have developed my bishop to like e6 or maybe d7, or even f5 is fine. But okay, I mean, d7, you don't really want to develop your bishop there. I mean, the question is between e6 and f5. But I decided to first develop my my knight, because this is something that you kind of always do. My opponent played b3, and now you usually go for this maneuver with the knight on g6, and then maybe some knight f4 jumps. My opponent plays c4, I went knight g6, and now after bishop to d3, I could have developed my bishop maybe to e6, but I decided to create a battery, which is a pretty common idea in this type of positions, and something really dangerous for the white players to watch out for. So I played bishop c7, which has the idea to go queen d6 and create some mating threats on the king side. So for example, if the game would develop with some random moves, let's say bishop e3, queen d6, and now rook c1. Okay, just some moves to give you an example of what could happen. Now knight h4 would start to actually be an idea, threatening to take the knight, and if white takes, the idea is to use this effective battery to go for the checkmate. And for example, if white is not taking that and plays like, I don't know, just c5, you want to take with check, and after he takes, again, you use the same motif with the battery. So yeah, already really tricky to stop this. I mean, white would have to play g3 in order to stop the checkmate, but this would weaken the h3 pawn. So again, white will be in trouble. So this idea is actually pretty annoying in this type of position. So it's really important to keep in mind that you can do this. So in the game, white decided to give up the bishop. My guess is that he was afraid of what I was mentioning, this queen d6 plus knight h4, or maybe even afraid of knight f4. So he just went bishop takes g6. I recaptured with the h pawn. Generally, you want to capture towards the center. Fg6 would not really be a strong move because it's kind of weakening this diagonal, and also, you know, just taking with the h pawn is overall more solid. Bishop b2, queen d6, and now after rook e1, white is threatening to take my rook, so I don't want to give up that file. So I play bishop d7, preparing to recapture with my rook. My opponent played a4. Again, at first it looks like my queen is kind of in trouble after a move such as c5. But just keep in mind, whenever you do such move as c5 in this structure, then the d5 square is weakened forever, and black has a very big advantage here, because this pawn on d4 is going to be really weak in the long run after like rook d8, and then black is just going to put pressure on that pawn. So c5 looks nice at the moment, attacking the queen, but after queen d5, white is left with this big weakness here. So don't go c5. Unless you are not winning something in exchange for it. Okay, white played a4 with ideas of bishop a3 at some point. I was thinking during the game. So after a4, anyways, I went g5. I was not afraid of bishop a3 because I said that at the very least I can go to f4, and with g4 next, black has the initiative. My opponent played queen to d2, and yeah, here I need to give you a little bit of a storyline. So I was in my last, I think maybe like 5 minutes of the whole cycling session, which is generally 1 hour. So yeah, I mean, I was really hyped to finish my cycling session, and I went a little bit insane with the trend, with the hype, and I decided that it's time to sacrifice the bishop to just get a quick win and go home and relax. But bishop h3 was not the best objective move, but it was a really interesting sack. A little bit better would have been to simply play it safe, take on e1, go g4, and after pawn takes, bishop takes, white is threatening, I mean black is threatening to get rid of the white knight, and then queen h2 is coming, and it's already really unpleasant to play this position as white, so black has a pretty big advantage. But yeah, as I said in the game, I played the move bishop takes h3, which is not a sound sacrifice, but is a common idea that you generally want to go for. And after bishop takes h3, my opponent took. I played queen d7. Idea to take on h3 and go g4. So just to show you my idea here, if my opponent plays something random, let's say he just wants to push the pawns, you want to take on h3. Let's say my opponent defends the knight. I mean, let's just say he defends it on d1. Okay, so it's not going to be on the pin. So you go g4, and once he moves the knight, then you can go for an easy checkmate here. I mean, here you have queen h2, queen h1, but one of the very important patterns is when you have this queen and bishop cooperation, it's just a forced mate. So first one, you go here, you go there, control the f2 square, he goes king g1, you go queen h2, only move king f1, and then you checkmate him. So this is one of the simplest patterns in chess. Whenever you get this kind of cooperation between queen and bishop, is just this just works, and white has nothing to do against that. So yeah, this was one of the main ideas behind this piece sack. My opponent took on e8 though, played rook e1, and here I played rook d8, which is what it looks to be the most natural move. But in some positions, maybe rook f8 was also interesting. I will show you in a second what I mean with that. So I played rook d8, opponent played king g2, defending the pawn. I went g4, and here he missed the defense, the best defense. So you can try to pause the video, find the best continuation for white, which both I and my opponent failed to see during the game. And my opponent went for the move knight to g1, which was not the best, allowing me to go for the attack. The best thing to do would have been to play knight to h2, Now after gh3, simply to go king h1. And I cannot really join with a queen because the knight is covering that square. And I probably have to play something like queen f5, but white is really safe after a move such as bishop to c3. Simply staying solid. I mean, I don't really see a way to get my pieces close to white's king here, unfortunately. So white would probably be winning being up a piece. But in the game, my opponent played the move knight to g1. Again, just a very basic idea. You cannot take that, obviously, because queen takes g4 comes. After the white king moves, you pick up the piece and you're up a lot of points, and the king is very weak. So knight to g1 was played. I took on h3, king h1. And here I realized maybe for some reasons it would have been better to have the rook on f8. So what do I mean by that? Is maybe I would have had bishop a5, this kind of idea to decoy the white queen. And now it looks like I'm just blundering my bishop, but relax, I have a point. The point was to play queen g4 here. And yeah, now that the queen is not on the second line, so for example, if I try to do the same thing after queen g4, my opponent can play f3. I cannot go checkmate because he takes my queen. So, you know, knowing that this is a problem, I can try to get rid of that queen first by playing bishop a5. But now if I do that and I go queen g4, my rook will be hanging on d8. So I couldn't really see all of this ahead, and this would obviously be a win for white. But the main reason why is this a win is because that after king to h7, he can take rid of my pawn, and I kind of missed that idea during the game. But just as a side note, you know, just keep in mind this nice idea to simply use this magnet sacrifice sometimes. I mean, here it wouldn't have been good, but I just think it's useful that you keep it in mind. So yeah, instead of that, obviously, I played the move queen to g4, threatening to mate on g2. And if my opponent would have played f4 in this position, I would have probably happily played bishop a5, which I'm not sure if it's the best move or not, because now queen e2 is a way to avoid it. But probably, yeah, black can just trade this, and then after king takes g2, you take on e1, and black is winning material. So yeah, obviously my opponent being aware of this, that I can go for the magnet sacrifice now, this would actually be very strong here. This is a very good illustration, actually. I shouldn't have showed you the previous one, but now you get to see it in both ways. So queen a5, then you get this mating idea, obviously. But my opponent, obviously, a 2600 rated player on chess.com, is aware of it, plays f3, attacking my queen and also defending against the checkmate. I play queen g3. And here, again, he failed to find the best defense, but it was already a matter of, you know, life or death situation. Because in the game, he played the move queen to e2. And you can try to pause the video, find the best defense for white, but it's already much trickier than the previous moment of the game, because rook f1 somehow holds, and black can go rook e8, prepare to bring the rook in the game. And here, as you can see, the piece was a positional sack. It's not like you sack the piece and then in the next two moves you're winning it back. But you get like positional compensation regarding white's weak king, and you also have active pieces. So this is the main point behind the piece sack again. Just refreshing your mind a little bit. So cd5, and now black would have had a great way to activate the rook with something like rook e3, because you cannot take the rook, otherwise it's checkmate. Also on g2 works. So rook e3 with the simple idea to take the pawns, and white's pieces are just stuck on the king side. So after something like queen f2, that would be white's best defense, rook e1, with ideas to put pressure on the knight and bishop b6 next, or h2. The best play according to the engine was something like this, and now h2. And the end game somehow was slightly more pleasant for black in this situation, I would say. But it generally should be a draw. But again, black has kind of easier play because the rook is very active on the open file. So as a quick tip, the pieces are stronger than the rook when there are no open files. But as you can see in this position, the game is pretty open, and the rook is quite strong. So this would have been white's best defense, but he played a move queen to e2, which allowed me to play h2, and now notice that suddenly the knight on g1 is trapped. He tried d5, but after hg1, he had to press the resign button because rook takes g1 would have allowed queen h3. checking the white king. Only move would be to block with the queen, but now this would be a checkmate because the queen is defended by the c7 bishop. So yeah, I think that was a pretty interesting game. And although it was not a perfect game, objectively speaking, I think it shows a bunch of interesting and useful ideas in this Caro-Kann structure. And yeah, let me know in the comments if you find this game interesting, and if you want to see more of these games from the gym series on the channel. So yeah, thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you in the upcoming videos. Take care.